Very much. We're joined on the phone now by Senator Marco Rubio. Senator Rubio, thank you for joining us. I know you've lived in Miami most of your life. Your city getting hit quite hard right now.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting here home looking out of my, I have storm category windows. We're about, I guess, a mile and a half from the airport where they just saw those gusts. So I can attest that there's been a significant uptick in the wind here. And the two things I'm thinking about, obviously, the first is, obviously this is going to, the water damage that's going to come once the eye passes. That's where you really see the surge situation. Not so much where I live, but out further east towards the water. But it's really nasty here in Miami and southeast Florida. Can you imagine? And we're not getting hit by the eye. So to that, it should serve as sort of a cautionary tale to the people in southwest Florida, in the Tampa Bay region. It's bad here, and you guys are getting the direct hit. And that's why I think it's really important that to the extent people still can, and it's safe to do so, they really need to move to the, away from storm surge and certainly into a secure location.
Yeah, it seems so tough there in Miami, but as you point out, Naples is going to get hit very, very hard, and Tampa could face the worst situation of all.
Yeah, that's always been the worst case scenario because of the topography of the Tampa Bay region, the water in the bay, this sort of strong storm from the south pushing a wall of water into the bay, heavily populated, a lot of important infrastructure in the region. And, of course, if you look at the storm surge projections for Naples and Fort Myers, they're horrifying. There should not be a single human being anywhere in that area at this point, because not in the storm surge areas, because we're talking 8 to 10 feet projection. I mean, that's near certain death.
And, Senator, it seemed like state and local officials and all of you in Florida did everything you could ahead of the storm to get people out of harm's way, to order the evacuations, to prepare as well as you could. But the challenges coming out of this storm are long-term.
Well, a couple points. Number one with the evacuations is you were evacuating multiple places. It wasn't clear where to evacuate people to. Unlike other storms that target a specific city or run east-west like Andrew did across Miami and then out into the Gulf, this storm basically was projected to come kind of right up the center of the state. And so there virtually was nowhere in the state that you felt safe in terms of sending people to, knowing what was going to happen. So that's the first challenge. The second is these are multiple communities being impacted, starting in the Florida Keys, southeast Florida, Naples, Fort Myers, Sarasota, Tampa, St. Petersburg. I mean, these are large areas with lots of people that are going to be impacted. And that's not counting some significant impact from, the storm surge on the southeast coast. So I think the volume of the storm, the number of places it's hitting, the number of people being impacted is going to be a challenge in terms of potentially overwhelming in the short term the system just because of volume, the amount of people we need to help and the amount of property that needs to be rebuilt.
It really does seem unlike anything Florida has seen before.
I don't think anyone's ever seen it anywhere. Again, you're talking about multiple major metropolitan areas being impacted in the third largest state in the country. I'm not sure there's a precedent for it. Certainly there hasn't been in my time, growing up in Florida. We've had bad storms, but never something this big, this dangerous in these many places.
Senator Rubio, I know you're in the middle of it right now. Stay safe. Thanks for joining us this morning. We'll be right back.